All right. Well, it is 2:16, so let's go ahead and jump in. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for attending session 7A, the National Center for Data Services Intern Showcase. Yay! So some quick housekeeping before we get started. This is a Zoom webinar and attendees have been muted and your cameras have been turned off. To ask a question, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. But we keep an eye on the chat, but it helps if it's in the Q&A. This session will run from 2:15 to 3:15 Eastern Daylight Time with the last, well, generally it's 15 minutes-ish, but it might be a little bit more today left for our Q&A. So please take time and ask questions of the wonderful interns. So this session will include 2 live presentations. So when you're putting your questions in the Q&A, please remember to indicate which presenter your question is going to. That way we can just make the process a little easier for everyone. And then after the session, please feel free to drop additional questions and keep the conversation going over at the session chat on Feedloop. So a code of conduct is in force at the summit, and the Research Data Access and Preservation Summit organizers are committed to providing an environment where all attendees can participate fully in the program and activities without fear of harassment or discriminatory behavior of any kind. So there is a code of conduct helper available during this session, which is Sheila, and I believe she has been already introduced, but you can reach out if you have any questions, and Sheila and the other COC helpers can give you the code of conduct email address or the link to the incident form if you need it. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. So you're probably expecting Peace, but unfortunately Peace was unable to join us today for this session, but it's okay. We're still going to hear from the wonderful NCDS interns. But before we get started, we're going to hear a few words about the program from Justin De La Cruz. So Justin, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. So my name is Justin De La Cruz. I'm the program specialist for the National Center of Data Services, and we run this internship program every summer. It is a 10-week program, and we have host sites that we have teams of interns work with. And we also have trainings for them set up in different aspects of working in data services. So we might teach some Python, or we might teach a resume workshop. All of this was helped out by a program from the Harvey Library at Hampton University. It's called Leading the Charge, Advancing the Recruitment, Retention, and Inclusion of People of Color within the Library and Information Science field. So working with that, we got advisement on how to recruit and retain, and are trying to build that into an internship as we talk to the interns and interface with them all summer. So I wanted to mention it's a good time for this presentation. We are currently recruiting for the internship this summer, and applications are open. So if you know anyone interested, I'm putting the link in the chat. There's a new webpage we have for this internship. It shows you some of the past projects and other information. And then one other thing to mention is that we have an upcoming session that will be more specifically about our upcoming summer internship this year, and that is free to join for anyone as well. I'll put that link in the chat. So I don't want to take up too much time because it's more about the intern's experience here. If you do have any questions, feel free to put them, and I'll try and answer them as we go along. But I want to hand it over to the interns because they're the ones that went through this experience and have all the results and feedback for you to check out. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to them.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the information, Justin. All right, so we're going to dive right in. And first, we're going to hear from Aviana Wooten and their presentation, Diversity and Data Services Training, Exploring the Challenges and Successes of the NCDS Internship. Take it away.
Okay, can we all see my screen?
Looks great.
Okay, yay. Hello, everyone. My name is Aviana Wooten. Ooh, we're on the wrong slide, it seems though. Sorry, I have 2 monitors set up, so I'm kind of going in between them. Okay. Hello again. My name is Aviana Wooten, and I'm currently a graduate student in the Masters of Science in Information Science at the School of Information and Library Science at UNC Chapel Hill. I'm also a graduate research assistant for a funding agency that is located on campus as well. And I also, I guess I have two jobs. I also work for a newly established unit on campus called the Research Data Management Core, doing some work helping our UNC research community with their data management plans. And I'm really excited to talk about the diversity and data services training. Before we get started, I'm going to do a brief visual description of myself. I'm not sure if there are any access needs in the audience, but just to meet that need if there is any visual impairment. I am a Black woman with brown skin. I also have short locks that are light brown at the tips and dark brown at the roots. I'm wearing glasses and also wearing a black shirt. So that's a brief visual description of myself. The objectives for this talk are really hopefully to share insights, experiences, and lessons learned about the National Center for Data Services internship. This talk aims to inspire continued efforts in creating inclusive and equitable opportunities for aspiring data professionals from underrepresented backgrounds. Another sort of, I guess, context of this talk is we are founding, not just myself, but I have found and am finding that there's increased scrutiny over diversity, equity, accessibility, and inclusion programs, as well as some actual sort of legal actions being taken. So it seems like as there is increased scrutiny over these programs, I feel it is important to have conversation about what these programs can contribute and what people who go through them are also learning as they do. So yeah, I would definitely love to talk more about that, but that's kind of the main objective for this talk. And I want to kind of just briefly describe the NCDS internship, like overview of how it kind of has been working. So there is a recruitment process that Justin kind of spoke to a bit, and I found out about the program through my graduate program. So that's kind of how I found out about it. The program is BIPOC-centered training in the sense that BIPOC populations, and by BIPOC, I mean Black, Indigenous, and people of color, are encouraged to apply, and they are the sort of center of the program. And the hope is to increase biomedical, the hope is to increase biomedical workforce diversity. Another thing to note about the NCDS is that it falls under the network of the National Library of Medicine. And there is also a additional sort of strategic objective for the NLM to, as outlined in their strategic plan for 2017 and 2027, is to increase workforce diversity. So that's kind of another contextual thing there. As far as the data services training, which I think you all might be the most interested in, is that there are several sites that work with the NCDS to host an intern. For our purpose, or for our cohort, there was a site at the NNLM Evaluation Center at Northwestern University, a site at the University of Rochester, as well as the Carey Institute of Ecosystem Studies and the Data Curation Network. And for each site, there is an assigned mentor for the project that intern is working on. So there were 4 different projects as well. The project that I worked on was exploring the NNLM data warehouse, but there was also a project at the University of Rochester for enhanced research around enhancing research metrics, turning publication data into actual insights, as well as the ecology of infectious disease. That one was more of a data analysis centered project, and that one was at the Carey Institute of Ecosystem Studies. And then project 4 was to get primary development at the Data Curation Network. Another thing is that in our cohort, while there is a mentor for the project at the site, there's also an accompanying mentor from NCDS. So our mentor was Justin, which you just saw earlier. Well, my mentor was Justin, which you just saw earlier. And they also kind of join for my for my specific project, Justin would join all of our kind of like intern meetings and check-ins and so on and so forth. So that's kind of how the projects went, and each project kind of focuses on developing a specific set of data services skills, along with having workshops. And these workshops range a variety of topics, and they're all sort of beginning workshops that I think have been useful for me after leaving the internship. So there were workshops around data management best practices, data policy and ethics, publishing your research, introductions to Python, SQL, Git. And there was an in-depth data carpentry with lessons on data cleaning in Excel, OpenRefine, as well as creating visualizations with R. There were also different workshops that were centered around personal well-being and community development, which I really enjoyed those workshops. So that's kind of more background on the internship overview. Transitioning to like, what were the challenges? So there are like 3 icons on my screen right now. One is a clock, another is a screen monitor with gears coming out of it, and another one is another computer monitor with like a video conference call showing. So these are kind of like hinting at the different challenges that were happening. I would say that time, it often feels like a challenge. I think the program it gets through a lot in a short period of time, but it is 10 weeks long, so it is a summer internship. So there often feels like not enough time, not enough time to really fully immerse yourself in the projects. There are also a few technology hiccups. So like that's what the screen with the gears is hinting at. It took me a long time to get onboarded with the data warehouse. I think there were a lot of security procedures that I had to go through, and then my specific cohort project members as well, other interns as well, had to go through. And I mean, it was useful to go through all of that security onboarding, because I learned a lot more about data warehouse security measures, and it led me to take like an information assurance class, because it was so complicated to me that I was like, you know what, I need to learn more about that. So it was a challenge, but also a learning opportunity in that sense. And I also feel like a really major challenge for myself was that all of this is happening via remote work. I think that is really beneficial in the sense that it like allows for greater accessibility, but it also makes it harder to sort of create community when you're just online. I think the way that you create community with your mentors or with other interns or with NCDS, it feels very much like a concentrated effort on all of our parts, like a concentrated effort on NCDS's part to create sort of environments or moments where that kind of happens, a concentrated effort of maybe you actually just need to reach out to people on your own to sort of connect with them more. So these are kind of some of the challenges, and these might be challenges that many of you have faced who have tried to create these types of program or a similar type of program or have participated in them. The time can be a challenge, and that if you're doing it remotely, then like the virtual environment can be a challenge. Technology maybe might not be a challenge. Maybe technology has worked well for you. It was a bit of a challenge with in my scenario, but maybe it wasn't for other interns. So the successes, I kind of briefly kind of hinted at this, but I think the training really led to a sense of sort of confidence building in data services skills. I am now like occupying different positions where I feel more empowered to kind of speak on certain topics, or I offer expertise on certain topics, or even say I have expertise on certain topics. So I feel like the training led to a sense of confidence building, and they really kind of broached a wide range of topics, which was useful. And I think each area of training I have since like elaborated further on in school or in work. So I do feel like the selection of training was also really useful. The sense of community, I remember at the very beginning of our internship, Some of us mentioned feeling like a bit of imposter syndrome or feeling like, I don't really know I don't really know. I don't feel really strong in my data service skills or data skills yet. But I feel like growing together, learning together really led to a sense of community. And then that community, I feel like leads to impact, like creating community together leads to kind of a sort of reverberating, flowing outward of impact, in the sense that like we can now impact our field, we can now impact each other. And there was a great deal, I would say, of care built into each session. I think there was a lot of intentionality behind how everything was structured and a lot of moments to actually just be together and talk about what we're doing together. I think it was pretty easy for us to all, since we all have different sites and all have different projects, to end up in different places, essentially. I just checked the time. I have gone over. So it has been really great to talk about the program. And if there are any specific questions, I would love to answer any of them. Additional resources here and information. This is just a link to like, these are various links, but the NCDS internship information, information about the other interns in my specific cohort. There's a link to a data science carpentry, as well as there's also, like, I would say that probably some of the training that we underwent is probably just also publicly available in some form on NNLM's website, which usually like offers free training. So I think that also is a great resource. And I'm going to now turn it over to Maria. I'm so sorry. I am like,
Oh, you are fine.
I'm
doing
so
great.
Thank you so
figuring out my
very
monitor.
much. That was great. No, I'm like, we have extra time. So if anybody wanted to go over, it was great. But that was so awesome to hear. So thank you very much. So yes, we are going to turn it over to Maria Lee in her presentation, Balancing Technical Skills with Grant Challenges and Data Curation.
Great. Thanks so much for the introduction. Hopefully folks can see my screen now too. I think I shared earlier, I feel like everyone in the other presentations I popped into have shared their screen so seamlessly. I was like, someone must be managing this. So anyone else who presented, kudos, you're all doing great on the technology. So like I said, my name is Maria. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a recent graduate of Simmons University, and I did the archives track there. And then I currently work since August. I've been working at the Ohio State University's libraries in our content and access division. And I work with electronic resources there. And I'm learning a lot about electronic resources there. But I'm here today wearing my NCDS alumni hat. I'm here to talk about the Data Librarianship Internship Program. So yep, last summer for 10 weeks, 10 hours a week, I think that needs to be mentioned. The program is about 100 hours. I got to hang out with some really amazing people on the internet. So I titled my talk, Balancing Technical Skills with Grand Challenges in Data Curation, because I think the internship really succeeded at striking that balance between introducing us to technical skills and having us dip our toes into some of just, those like technical things that you need to be at least aware of to like hang in data conversations. As well as providing a lot of space for us to zoom out and think about like large scale issues in the field. So yeah, I'm excited to share my experience with you today. So just a quick overview. I think Aviana did a really lovely job of like giving you a large scale overview of the whole program. I'm going to talk specifically a little bit more about my placement with the Data Curation Network. So at our placement, there were 3 of us. I think every placement had just 3 students, graduate students. And our main deliverable that we were supposed to work on was creating a curation primer on Git and Git hosting platforms. We met regularly with 2 project mentors from the Data Curation Network. So the director of the Data Curation Network, Michaela, who I think is in the room right now. So thanks for being here. And then the project manager for the RADS initiative, Shauna Taylor, who's also been around RDAP And so we regularly met with these two people, and then also had a subject matter expert to help like mentor us in the actual subject content of our primer. And that was Seth Erickson, who is a librarian and affiliate of the Data Curation Network at UC Santa Barbara. And in addition then to that whole group of support, we had our whole cohort of interns, as well as NCDS staff, guest speakers and panels. So Aviana, again, like did a really good job of highlighting just like the layers of support that we had in the program, which I think is so important. Like we were introduced to just so many institutions, people doing different aspects of data management work. So that provided us so many footholds to find a connection that worked for us. Like maybe maybe the this one speaker approached data management in a way that didn't really like, you don't see yourself doing that work, but someone else is doing something different. And I think just again, like the variety of people that we were introduced to was really meaningful because it provided just like so many options and showed us all the options that exist within this kind of niche field. Right. Oh, and then here's a very sweet photo of 4 of the NCDS interns at the Midwest Data Librarian Symposium back in October in Cincinnati. So I think while it was, I think truly there were some challenges in terms of like just the time to connect with everyone. I think there are definitely like some lasting relationships from this cohort, and we'll continue to bump into each other as we continue on our career. So that's like, I think when in many of the panels and programs that like related to diversity and inclusion that I've been in, talking to more established professionals about how they've just like moved forward in their library career. So many people have said like, well, like I had this like cohort of people, and I think, yeah, I just like really appreciate knowing that I have some people who are kind of in the same space that I'm in, that I can reach out to be like, I had this interview and this like didn't go well. What do you think? Or just like some contacts to reach out to bounce some ideas off of. And I think that's maybe one of the most valuable things that that comes out of programs like this is just relationships and being in a cohort of peers, because then you don't feel like the only one. Here. So I want to talk a little bit more about our actual project that we worked on. I imagine so many people here are so familiar with the Data Curation Network, but in case there are people who've never heard of this organization before, I do want to just share that they're awesome. They're very cool. And they are a membership-based organization that is mostly academic libraries, but some other folks are in the partnership. And they endeavor to share resources and expertise to make more research data findable, accessible, interoperable, all that good stuff. The network is premised on radical interdependence, knowing that together these institutions can accomplish more than any individual library ever could. And so practically, there are some workflows that the DCN supports where member institutions can deposit data sets that need curation, and then different members can like pick those up and do that curation work. So there's like some shared workflows. And then they also provide training and resources for data curation beyond their member institutions. And that's where these curation primers come in. So primers are peer-reviewed documents that detail specific subject matters related to data curation or like a disciplinary area or specific curation task. And the topics of the primers range from like PDF file formats to human subject research. Right. I haven't updated this. Michaela, maybe you can give us an updated number of how many topics are currently published. Maybe more than 35 now. And the interns who were placed with the DCN were assigned to write a primer about Git and GitHub. So we were all brand new to data curation. And we also had of all 3 of us, none of us had ever used GitHub or any other Git hosting platform or just Git standalone, and didn't really even know a difference between those 3 things. And we're also pretty new to like scripting and coding. So we felt pretty intimidated by our assignment, I think, off the bat. And yeah, it was this thought of like, how are we going to write like an authoritative, peer-reviewed resource about this? Like, we don't know what's going on. But I think one of the big strengths of coming into the project without any previous knowledge meant that we really didn't take anything for granted, and that we really had to investigate how researchers were using Git and Git hosting platforms for version control and for collaboration. And yeah, we just had to learn everything too. So in terms of like writing an introductory primer, there's just like, we defined everything because we ourselves like didn't know like what the terms were. So there's something nice about being brand new to the space. There are also some challenges that certainly came along with that. But our project mentor was like incredibly patient as we dove down a lot of different rabbit holes. And some of the issues that came up in our research are some conversations I've heard in different corners of RDAP, which has been, cool. So we were reading a lot of like technical articles about the rise of GitHub links and scholarly articles, software preservation strategies, types of persistent identifiers that exist, the granularity of persistent identifiers needed to document code development. Like we're getting into the weeds quite a bit. But also, we, in our debriefs, when we were talking about what we were researching, I know I often thought about like the big why behind some of these technical questions. Like, why is getting data published so hard sometimes? Why do researchers not provide detailed and well-documented code to begin with? And these questions and opportunities to talk to data professionals really like quickly revealed some of the more social challenges related to data curation, such as like the rank and respect of librarians in the academic landscape, data as a second-class academic product in terms of some tenure and promotion processes, sometimes the culture of competition and scarcity in academia leading to protectiveness of like over research outputs. These are all incredibly social issues that need to be addressed alongside these technical challenges. So our background research for the primer was a little bit of a fire hose, certainly, but one that helped me learn so much in a 100-hour internship about this like extremely niche profession where you are required to know things about academia and about librarianship and a little bit about like tech. So ultimately, our primer has now cleaved into two different resources. One that's for curators who want to use Git in their own curation process, because Git is a version control tool at the end of the day. These commit messages that you use can be a useful way to track curation tasks. So one resource about actually implementing that into your workflows as a curator, and then another primer about like, what do you do when you get like a GitHub link in a data deposit or a link to another Git hosting platform, and what the preservation considerations are there. Ultimately, my group of the 3 interns walked away from our internship feeling like in a really short time, we like really learned a lot and could talk again like much more confidently about some of these issues, which brings me, I forgot my slides, guys, brings me to my final point, which is that there's a couple things I think made this a really successful internship experience. Staff frequently reiterated that everything about the internship experience was really focused on providing a learning experience rather than just producing a specific outcome or product. And I think everyone asks me so often, like, what do you want to learn and what do you want to accomplish during this time? And making sure that the experience, like I was doing what I wanted to do in this experience. Staff also really modeled honesty and humility about their own challenges as library professionals working with data, and staff provided encouragement and like regularly reminded us that we should that learning like these data skills is like, we couldn't expect to have mastery like in 100 hours, right? And that we were just getting familiar with some terms and some processes and some workflows that exist in the data management world. And so, yeah, I think I some of my like parting knowledge, I think, about what to think about if you're considering creating an internship program or having interns at your place of work, is really to have a developmental mindset and focus on that process over products, which means I think creating room for reflection and integrating all pieces of that experience into a reflection, as well as creating room for goal setting and discussing what the intern wants to get out of the experience. Having a network of support to provide different perspectives, as well as different types of people to support different types of challenges. And then, yeah, being aware of like your organizational context and what organizational context you're bringing your intern into, so that you can help your intern like look out for things and navigate your organizational culture. So I'm going to wrap it up there because I'm sure folks have questions. But yeah, thanks so much for listening and thanks for being curious about our experience.
Thank you so very much for that great presentation. All right, so we will open it up for Q&A. So if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. Not the chat, the Q&A. Sorry, long day, but yes, round of virtual applause for our presenters. Hey, okay.
While we're waiting for people to get questions in, I just want to say how great that was, how, what nice reflections on everything you did, and it's nice to see your enthusiasm and just yeah, this is a really great program, and I'm so happy that NCDS has this and that you were able to participate. I was curious, Aviana, if you wanted to talk a little more about sort of what you like, what was involved with working with the data warehouse. That sounds interesting. Oh, sorry, I see you do have a question.
So I just saw your chat, Monica. Okay, that may be an old link and that is no longer active. So I will have to update that. But for what was involved in our in my project specifically was that I was working with the NNLM data warehouse, and in that data warehouse, it basically contains all of the information for past funding of different projects. So information about like awards, sub-awards, and things like that, and then different types of areas that are related to funding that might be of interest for reporting. So what we were tasked with was creating a research question that the database could answer essentially, and then creating SQL to query the database, and then produce a data set that answers or tries to answer that question. And then so for the question that I basically ask is for projects that involved a community partnership, what were the types of projects that, or yeah, the topics that were most prevalent in those community partner project essentially. And then I think what ended up being really apparent is there was a high concentration of projects around AIDS outreach, which I think that was another thing. It's like it's the warehouse, like this warehouse spans like decades worth of projects. So that's something that I kind of my maintenance person just came in, if you heard that. That's something that was just really interesting to think about, because I feel like when we were in the summer internship, like COVID and the pandemic was really prominent, but like there are all these other things that had really huge health crises implications. So that was kind of the project that I worked on, and it was really great to get to know the interns specifically in my project, as well as my mentor for that one, which was Matt Carson and Justin De La Cruz.
Sounds really great, and it's kudos also to the project managers or the site project developers who made such great projects.
Yes. There is a question in the chat and it's not directed to anybody, so we'll just do round robin, whoever wants to talk. So Elizabeth asked, what opportunities are there for current librarians who are looking to broaden their abilities / expertise in data management?
I know, I think Justin might have to step off soon, so if you wanted to say anything before you head out.
Yes, thank you. So with our center, we do offer different classes and events and discussions around research data management. I'm going to link our center's webpage. You'll see a list of current and upcoming events. We actually have a really big research data management class that's going on right now, but we're in the middle of it, so we can't recruit new people to it. But we offer that about once a year, where it's like an 8-week experience where you learn all about different kinds of research data management, and that's intended for beginners as well. We do have some online materials that are currently available on demand. So you can do these on your own pace, and I put that link in the chat as well. And we are also developing more of those. So we're going to have offline resources, we're going to have live classes, and we're going to have webinars and things like that. But I would also say you're in a great place here with RDAP and other associations. Just joining the mailing list, checking in on what people are talking about, and clicking on through the links that they're providing has been really helpful for me to learn in this area.
And I want to come back to this because I think Ashley might have some things to add potentially. But I do see that there is a question from Casey about if you foresee projects listed changing this summer for the internship, or if they tend to be the same, or if there's different ones. And I think Justin, you might be the one to answer that.
So the projects every summer are different. Some of the host sites carry through. So some of them we've developed a relationship. We had a great time with the internship, and so we carry them through. And then we also ask new host sites to join. So every summer there are new opportunities, and we're going to have more on that on our upcoming presentation in a couple of weeks about what the summer internships will be like this year.
You, Ashley, do you want to talk about any opportunities for current librarians?
Gosh. Well, I don't want to plug another program that I know in this one.
No, I specifically want you to plug programs that that you know and are involved with, perhaps.
Yes. Okay, so I helped, but am no longer a part of, develop a kind of like an internship is kind of opportunity. It's called the DSCPE Data Services Continuing Education.
Professional education.
Yeah, you would think I wrote that title so many times, you'd think it'd be burned into my brain, but it is. I think we're going to stretch it out to, it's usually 8 weeks, but I think we're going to try to tease it out a little bit more to 10 weeks. But it's for early to mid-career librarians who are looking to expand their data knowledge, especially if your institution is going to start bringing in data services, or if your library is looking to kind of expand your current data services. It is kind of a 2-part thing. You will work through the part of the RDMLA, which I saw Maria noted in the chat, which is the Research Data Management Librarian Academy, and that was produced back in 2019. And that was originally 8 units. 3 new units were added over the course of 2020 and 2021. There was a 1-day symposium that was held, so that recordings are on there. And we also have a couple of, we call them mini modules, like brief topics. But then, so you work through that, it's asynchronous, like your own pace. Then there are live Zoom presentations with the instructors from all of the units. They're hour long. They give a presentation, you can talk. And then there is an internship component to it. So you'll do, was it 30 hours, Amy, the last?
I think it was 50 this time.
50? Okay.
Yeah.
I had, like I said, I had stepped away from the program. So where you will work, you get assigned to a host location with a mentor, and you work on a project, and then you present on it at the end of the program. So it's kind of jointly hosted through Simmons University, the Countway Library at Harvard, and also at Elsevier, which provides funding. So actually the tuition is free. I did hear that Elsevier will continue to fund it through this year, so free funding. So we generally have 15, but we're always open to as many that we want. Let me drop the link in. Yeah, it's a great program. And actually, I believe my colleague Perry, who has taken over for me, dropped something in one of the channels to talk about, but we are coming back this fall, and we have also been able to develop some really great relationships and carry those through. So Amy, who was unfortunately somebody that I knew, that's my alarm, sorry, that I was like, hey, when we were first getting this off the ground. But yeah, that's a great thing for current librarians. And yeah, the information's there. The application will open this summer. Yeah, May-ish, to apply to join, and you should, and it's great. And yeah, I've worked with it, literally built the website, so yeah. And then of course, I mean, there's a slew of training. I mean, not just RDMLA, but like the NNLM has a lot of free training. It's out there. It's usually like Justin said before he left, join all the listservs, just click on the links people are talking about. I also went to Simmons and did the archives track. All I had done is worked in archives, and I got dropped into a data position, and I literally learned on the fly. It is possible, it's not fun, but there is so much great training out there. And I'm especially glad that like the National Center is open for you guys to get some experience before you leave grad school, because that would have been nice. Sorry, I talked a lot. So if anybody has any questions or want to expand on that. But yeah, I am a wee bit jealous of your guys' experience. That really is, I think that is one thing I've said, is when you can create a community, having those peers that you can reach out to, which has been great. Like with RDAP, I met Amy through RDAP. And so it's like, hey, this thing's coming up. Will you help me out? It's nice to have folks that you can turn to. And even if I've never actually met Amy in real life. I have yet to
That's
actually
true.
fully see her in physical form. You have these people
Yeah.
that you can email.
Mhm.
I mean, names that I know, and it's like, my name. And so you're in my community now. And when I have a question, or if I have a need or an idea, I'm going to throw it out to you. And that is one good thing, at least about the RDAP community, is that we're all really friendly. So I'm glad that this internship can create that community for you guys. And that is the one thing that Justin's right. It's fine. It's just reading up and joining the community. It's the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I think in so many like at least in grad school at Simmons, it's the emphasis on networking, you should meet people, and people are always like, oh, you should reach out, but it's like, oh, I'm not actually going to reach out. I think in this weird little corner of librarianship, I've been so surprised and humbled by people just really giving me the time of day. Whether it's because I was connected to them through the internship, I don't know, but grease the wheels if people are just actually that nice in this little corner of library land, or if it's oh, you're an NCDS intern, of course I have time for you. I don't know which one it is, but I've just been so surprised at how people really are just willing to talk to me about my ideas and questions. And yeah, so I think it's been a fairly, despite there being all of these layers of niche knowledge, that make it really scary. I think I've been so surprised at how welcoming people are.
Yeah. And I think it's because we've all been there, the niche knowledge. It's like the spider web that you have to try, and it's No, it's okay. None of us know what we're doing and we're all just kind of really faking it. But yeah, come in. We'll like, oh, you don't understand? That's fine. We'll tell you. So I have also, I'm glad you are experiencing that because that is the experience that I have. And so I'm glad to see that it is a universal experience.
And since Sheila is here as our code of conduct person, I also want to hat tip to Sheila and the membership committee who organize scholarships to attend the RDAP conference. And it's been great to see, you know, in the chat and in the channels participation from more students and people who have done internships and things. And it's been great to see that involvement. Um, Rachel, your hand is raised. Did you want to ask a question?
I just saw that. I did
You
not.
want to, I'm not sure if that's an accidental hand raise or if you want to be unmuted.
Out.
I
There we go.
have allowed you to talk if you want, Rachel, if
Oh,
it's an
thank you.
accident.
I was trying to decide whether I was going to have to type to ask. Yeah, thanks so much to both of the interns for presenting. That was really informative and great to hear about your experiences. And I know we're at the end of time. I just wanted to encourage folks to think about attending the business meeting that's starting at 3:15. That's our last. Not as exciting as the keynote in terms of opening and closing, but if you're interested at all in the community, it does provide a lot more information on our inner workings.
We actually have until 3:30 where
Mhm.
we
Oh, you're right, Amy. Thank you.
you've got plenty of time.
That is, I, yeah, I have been in kind of, it's so weird to me that so I will have, well, I've had my, my library degree for 4 years, 5 years. So I'm this really weird where like people turn to me like that I know stuff. But it is one thing, like, especially with conferences, like I turn people to small conferences like RDAP because at MLA, at ALA, like, yeah, big shiny, you get lost in the crowd. But when you want to go and have a genuine conversation and get to know your peers, not only on like on a national or global, but even just like your local, you want the small conferences. You're going to make the connections, which are really are what's going to drive. So I'm glad you guys are here. Yay, more people. Oh, Casey has.
Yeah, I'll let Casey ask the question. Casey's also a
Yeah, thank you both, Aviana and Maria, for presenting. I'm really happy that you had such a positive experience in your internships. So Maria, I know you said you already graduated, and Aviana, I'm not sure, you're still in school?
Yes, I am still in school. I will be taking a summer course and that'll be the end of my IS program.
Wow. So I'm doing school part-time, one class at a time, and I like even though I'm 18 months away from actually finishing, or probably less than that, I'm sorry, like 13 months. Wow. I'm getting very scared that I'm not taking advantage of things like internships and different communities. How did you balance your classes with, I don't know if you were working at the time like I am, or like when did you decide you wanted to do your internship? Was that kind of advisor supported? Did you kind of just pick a how did you handle it all?
So I had to go to school full time because that was the way that my scholarship at Simmons was structured.
Yeah.
So I think by being a full-time student, there are like those summer breaks like lent themselves to more like internship opportunities.
Okay.
I worked part-time as a part of my scholarship at Simmons was like a research assistant. And then I worked part-time on top of that. And I think I don't know, just talking to people like people that I know who've gone to library school are like, yeah, like school is fine, but it's like you're gonna learn stuff on the job. So I just kind of like
Right.
really was just like I want to experience every like type of library that I can, and was like lucky to have like the flexibility. I'm 30 years old right now. It's full transparency, and I was like, and I had come to library school after working in city government for several years, so I was lucky to have some like flexibility and like a little bit of savings to be like, okay, well, like I mean, I look for paid internships, and the NCDS internship is a paid internship, which is I think a reason why many of us applied to it in the first place. Like I think the conversation that I had with many of my peers was like, we were just looking for paid internships, and we were like, I don't know what this data thing is, but I can like add this 100 hours into like everything else that I'm doing. I think everyone had such crazy summers. Like I was taking a summer class, working part-time at a library, had another internship doing like some data curation things, and then also had this going on all at the same time in the summer. So I don't know. It was just,
Oh my gosh.
I think like someone else was like working full-time, taking a class and also like doing this internship. But I think because it was 100 hours, like while it made the time insane, it was something that people could like grab and say like, oh, I can make this work.
Yeah.
So that's not helpful of like, oh, you'll be insane for a couple, like, for a little bit. But yeah, but I feel like I'm seeing more of these like kind of like interesting part-time, like project-based internships because people realize that there are people working full-time jobs.
I appreciated hearing about that specifically today because I've been a little bit afraid to commit to like an internship that would take up so much of my time because I need to work full time.
Yeah,
so
health insurance. Yeah,
health insurance is great. Paying the bills is great. The rent is good. Yeah, so it's been really helpful to hear from both of you about these project-based internships because I think that after this summit is over, I'm definitely going to try to hone in what I look for because I think also there are a lot of opportunities out there despite hearing about the competition of them. I feel like some of that is also like what works for each person's situation and knowing that narrowing it down can be helpful. So I really, really appreciate your transparency in that process.
Yeah. Aviana, did you have other thoughts about balancing it all? Because you also had an insane summer.
Yeah.
And also, I just want to say Aviana was such like a catalyst for like our cohort connection. Like Aviana like showed up every day to be like, we're gonna connect with each other. And it really showed. So hopefully the next NCBS cohort has an Aviana to get people to talk to each other.
As I was listening to Maria, I was just like, I don't know. I feel the exact same way. It was just like, I don't know how I'm balancing actually. It feels like a lot. So maybe like I really try to kind of hone in on some like time management stuff of like, okay, I think I can allocate this much time to this a week, even though I work full time. I'm like, what is the because I feel like my schedule is constantly stacked, so I don't really know what how to help navigate that. But I think maybe another thing is maybe if you are working full time, speaking with your supervisor at that place to see how supportive they might be of like having certain times off or certain days off. I worked at the time I was working at UNC University Libraries. My supervisor was super supportive of like anytime there was a training, like rearranging my schedule so that I could attend the training.
That's so nice.
So yeah, I think if you have that relationship with your current place of employment, or maybe potentially if you think it's possible. I don't think it's always possible at every place. I don't think every place is as supportive. But if that is your relationship at your current job, then that might be a way kind of getting more time to do stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you both so much. I'm so glad you had great internships, and I hope to see you more in the RDAP community.
I just want to add that we do have someone in my library who worked as like a staff member in the library while completing her MLS, and then after graduation got a librarian position. So maybe get some hands-on experience that way.
And paid internships and stuff have becoming more popular as it should because it's labor. It should be paid. And so that's becoming a huge, like they always put in like it's paid. And so just join every like job in like listserv that you can, even like maybe outside of like traditional librarianship, like there's a lot of stuff with archives and that will often like cross over like data curation that kind of lives in both worlds. So definitely check those out, especially now because those are going to start really ramping up. I've been seeing them a lot pop up. So yeah, just jump on all the boards and take a look. And a lot of
Yeah,
are becoming virtual. Sorry, Maria, I didn't
oh,
mean
I was gonna say, like, I think I know Simmons has like a job board, but I think I learned from the internship, the NCDS internship from like the University of Indiana's like Bloomington's job board. So I was like cruising other schools' job boards because I was like, well, Simmons has like a big traditional capital A archives like Bent. Like that's what they want all their graduates to go off and do. So I was like, and I don't know if I want to do that. So I started looking at other schools who were like more like iSchool focused. Sorry if there's any like very proud Simmons alums in the
I mean, I went to Simmons and I'm like, you survived too? Oh, thank God.
barely, we're here.
We can talk later. But
Come and tie you. Woo, go ahead.
yeah.
Well, we are actually just coming up on time. I don't know if there's
Yeah.
any final thoughts. It sounds like you two have been a great inspiration to current students, and also like just the whole idea is kind of inspiring to me and wanting to have more internship opportunities at my school, and I'm sure, or yeah, at my library, and I'm sure others too.
Yeah.
Um,
I wish I could. I wish I could. Yeah. This was awesome. You guys, thank you so much for sharing your experience. This was great. And I do think you've inspired a lot of folks, and I'm just happy that, and for me, being on the other side of this, like just hearing that there are these opportunities for folks coming up, that this is great. I was very happy that you guys have had such great experiences.
we're excited to be working with you in the future.
Yes, welcome, colleagues. We're peers now. Well, I mean, we always are, but like,
All right. So yeah, as Rachel mentioned, coming up next at 3:30, we'll be closing out the conference with our business meeting. So I hope you all can make it. Thanks so much, everyone, for being here. Sorry, Ashley, I stole the ending
oh
for you.
no, go for it.
Yeah, that was great. All right. Well, have a nice day, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Great job.